Beauty drugs, A or B, who is more beautiful? And the female, A or B? So what do we have here? Beauty drugs. Are toxoplasma-infected subjects more attractive, symmetrical, and healthier than non-infected ones? Evidence from subjective and objective measurements. Background. Parasites are among the main factors that negatively impact the health and reproductive success of organisms. However, if parasites diminish a host's health and attractiveness to such an extent that finding a mate becomes almost impossible, the parasite would decrease its odds of reproducing and passing to the next generation. There is evidence that Toxoplasma gondii manipulates phenotypic characteristics of its intermediate host to increase its spread. However, whether T. gondii manipulates phenotypic characteristics in humans remains poorly studied. Therefore, the present research has two main arms: to compare traits associated with health and parasite resistance in Toxoplasma infected and non-infected subjects, to investigate whether other people perceive differences in attractiveness and health between Toxoplasma infected and non-infected subjects of both sexes. So the scientist here claims that a parasite named Toxoplasma gondii is infecting humans and changing their appearance so that they appear more sexually attractive or beautiful, so that it can transmit itself as a sexually transmitted pathogen.
Is there a disease that makes us love cats? And do you have it? Maybe. And it's more likely than you'd think. We're talking about toxoplasmosis, a disease caused by Toxoplasma gondii. Like all parasites, toxoplasma lives at the expense of its host and needs its host to produce offspring. To do that, Toxo orchestrates a brain manipulation scheme involving cats, their rodent prey, and virtually all other birds and mammals, including humans. About a third of the world's population is infected, and most of them never even know it. In healthy people, symptoms often don't show up at all. When they do, they're mild and flu-like. But those are just the physical symptoms. Toxoplasma also nestles into our brains and meddles with our behavior behind the scenes. While the parasite can multiply in practically any host, it can only reproduce sexually in the intestines of cats. The offspring, called oocysts, are shed in the cat's feces. A single cat can shed up to 100 million oocysts. If another animal, like a mouse, accidentally ingests them, they'll invade the mouse's tissues and mature to form tissue cysts. If the mouse gets eaten by a cat, the tissue cysts become active and release offspring that mate to form new oocysts, completing the cycle. But there's a problem. A mouse's natural desire to avoid a cat makes it tough to close this loop. Toxoplasma has a solution for that. The parasites invade white blood cells to hitch a ride to the brain, where they seem to override the innate fear of predators. Infected rodents are more reckless and have slower reaction times. Strangest of all, they're actually attracted to feline urine, which probably makes them more likely to cross paths with a cat and help the parasite complete its life cycle. Thus, one idea is that Toxo tinkers with neurotransmitters, the chemical signals that modulate emotions. The result? Fatal attraction. But mice aren't the only animals that end up with these parasites, and that's where humans and all of Toxo's other hosts come in. We can accidentally ingest oocysts in contaminated water or unwashed produce, or from playing in sandboxes or cleaning out litter boxes. We can also get Toxo from eating undercooked meat from other animals that picked up some oocysts. And it turns out that Toxo can mess with our brains too. Studies have found connections between Toxo and schizophrenia, bipolar disorder, obsessive compulsive disorder, and aggression. It also slows reactions and decreases concentration, which may be why one study found that people involved in traffic accidents were almost 3 times more likely to have toxoplasma. So, is toxo manipulating our brains as an evolutionary strategy to get predatory cats to eat us? Or are our brains just similar enough to a rodent's that the same neurological tricks that lure them in catch us in the net too? And is toxo the reason so many people love cats and keep them as pets?
Toxoplasma gondii can infect any warm-blooded animal. So the scientist claims that when it infects humans, it's altering their appearance to make them more sexually attractive so we can transmit it. If this is the case, then how is it doing this? Is it hormonal during puberty? Is it genetic? Is it something that only the infected can see? Is it perception? Is it some other chemical change in the body? Is it neuronal and the potential for a beauty drug? Can this be turned into a supplement or a drug? Results. First, we found that infected men had lower facial fluctuating asymmetry, whereas infected women had lower body mass and lower mass index, a tendency for lower facial fluctuating asymmetry, higher self-perceived attractiveness, and a higher number of sexual partners than non-infected ones. Then we found that infected men and women were rated as more attractive and healthier than non-infected ones. Conclusions. Our results suggest that some sexually transmitted parasites such as T. gondii may produce changes in the appearance and behavior of the human host, either as a byproduct of the infection or as a result of manipulation to the parasite to increase its spread to new hosts. Taken together, these results lay the foundation for future research on the manipulation of the human body by sexually transmitted pathogens and parasites. So, which is more attractive, A or B? If you chose B, they were the uninfected. They are a composite of many photos, and association is not causation. Now, we've got the life extension drugs. We've got the brain drugs. And now we have a potential beauty drug. Immortality Cryptocurrency, over and out.